Sometimes we don't have problems, so we invent stuff to be upset about, right?
Right.
And he goes like, there are parts of the world where our problem today is they're going to chop all our heads off, right? That's a real problem, right?
Yes.
It's not as bad as, having to choose a language on the ATM machine, or that, it's raining a little too much today in New
Absolutely.
York. Right?
Yeah.
It's and so we look at life in very interesting ways. We think about life in a way, in my view, that causes a lot of suffering. When I was searching for happiness, I was very unhappy, even though I was successful. Mm-hmm. And then as an engineer, I realized that, okay, I would never find what I'm looking for unless I define it properly, right?
What happiness is.
What happiness is. And
what's the equation to happiness, right? Yeah.
And you'll be surprised,
Most people don't know what it is for them.
Absolutely.
And they keep searching and searching, but they're not sure. They think maybe this will be it, this will be it, this will be it. But then it's like, oh, I got that and I'm still not happy.
Exactly.
Still not enough.
Exactly.
Still not enough.
And so if you don't know what it is, how do you expect to find it? Right?
And so I was going through, I was just going through the motions of continuing to climb the ladder. And there were these guys who I really aspired to be like. And I had this whole plan laid out for myself, right? I was going to be a vice president by age 32, a senior vice president by age 35, a C-level executive by age 40, and then you're set, right? But as I climbed this ladder, I got closer to these guys and realized that many of them were kind of miserable. Yeah, they were on their third marriage. My boss had his second heart attack. I worked with a guy who was 30 years old. He was 3 years older than me, who had his first heart attack at age 30. And so, of course, what I tell myself, but I'll be different, right? I'm not going to be like those guys. But if you follow the same recipe, you're going to get the same pie that they've baked. And so I realized, you know what? I need to make some changes, but I don't know what. And then I realized I was so focused on so-called success and achievement, and especially on the accumulation of stuff, the trophies of success. Like, look at me, I have 2 Lexuses, and I have this, I have that, I have the bigger house, and
the golf membership, or whatever.
Yeah, the racket club membership.
There
actually.
You go.
Yeah. And so I had these things. And here's the thing I want to get across. So, there's nothing inherently wrong with stuff. We all need some stuff. The problem isn't consumption. The problem is this compulsory consumption. Buying things because that's what we think we're supposed to do. We've been sold this meme of the American dream. If you get this, then you will be happy, as if there is a template for happiness. And in fact, I think that's one of the bigger problems is we are chasing happiness. And for the longest time, that's what I did. I chased happiness.
I see a lot of stress. I see a lot of anxiety. I see a lot of people who are tired and exhausted. And because, we're collectively tired and exhausted and stressed, the first thing we do to alleviate that is we seek out pleasure. Things that are pleasurable. Watching great television shows are pleasurable. Eating comforting foods. Even sometimes mindlessly scrolling on Facebook is soothing. It's pleasurable, right? And we spend a lot of our lives doing these things because they're almost like a Novocaine to the day-to-day struggles that we go through. And that might sound morbid, but it's just the truth. We all have little micro struggles we're going through. Sometimes they're macro struggles, but we're trying to use these little pleasurable things to kind of bolster our feeling of well-being, right? And you know what? I understand. I get it. And it's important to have things that are pleasurable in our lives. But here's what we're missing, okay? We're missing that fulfillment aspect. A lot of us go through our lives and in a blink of an eye, 2, 3, 5, sometimes 10 years floats away from us, right? Think about those time periods. Think about how quickly they're passing now that you're getting older. If we're always focusing on pleasure, we're not doing things that are building us anything in the future, right? That's where fulfillment comes in. Fulfillment involves not something that pleases you in the moment, but something that might not be pleasurable, but will have a long-term lasting effect that you really appreciate. So what are things like that? Well, anything from, learning a skill like painting or drawing, or an instrument, or another language, or martial art, or raising a kid. These are all things that are not fun while you're doing them, right? They're not easy, and they take a lot of work and a lot of consistency, day after month after year to get right. But when you finally completed the task or part of the task, the fulfillment means that the struggle that you had to go through to get to this point was all worth it, and it feels like you've completed an important project in your life. Those are the things that we want to start collecting. Those are the memories that we want to hang on to. All the pleasure that you go through on a day-to-day basis, hey, listen, it's okay if you need to use that to help yourself feel a little bit better. But if you only focus on feeling good, on going out and drinking with your friends, on watching TV, on watching movies, on doing things just to get a nice, good feeling, just to get a high, you're never gonna have time, really, because we don't have that much time in our day. You're never gonna have time to work on the things that might actually fulfill you long term and allow you to look back on your life and say, wow, I really did something meaningful and important, and it was worth being here.
People misunderstand money. Okay, just like fundamentally. And it's actually not money. They misunderstand themselves. They misunderstand what they actually want. What people want is fulfillment. What people want is to feel good. And they think that, wow, if I had and here's the truth. What they know is when they buy something, it does feel good. Right. And they know, if I could buy my mom a house, like that would feel good. If I could buy her a big house, a fancy car, make me feel good. And it is all 100% true. Buying a fancy car will make you feel good. Buying a big house will make you feel good. Yeah. But it makes you feel good the way a bowl of ice cream makes you feel good. It's momentary happiness. Yeah. It's transient. It will go away. The hedonic reset point. So you buy the big house and all of a sudden that's normal, baby. And so you really have to stop and A, remind yourself to be grateful for that, but B, recognize that all the things you thought money was going to bring you, it brings you something completely different. And if you want fulfillment is about being something, becoming something. It's born of suffering. It is not born of having a cool car, because you want a cool car because of the way you want other people to look at you.
Right, and the way that will make you feel when you think that they look at you like that.
Exactly. So it's tenuous at best. And it hinges entirely on them actually looking at you that way. So now you're somebody else's pawn, because they can turn on you at any minute. So that's never going to bring you lasting fulfillment. It's not stable. It doesn't make you feel strong and rooted. But becoming somebody, setting your sights on gaining certain skill sets, of feeling a certain way, of being calm, being, full of gratitude, like all the things from a neurochemical standpoint that we read as good, none of money can't touch those things. So working on what I call framework happiness is the key to all that stuff, and money can't give you framework happiness.
So the second skill is the art of fulfillment. If you want an extraordinary life, you can't just achieve, you gotta be fulfilled. As simplistic as that sounds, but it's an art. It's not a science.
Sure.
It's a science to making money, come on. Any age, any color, any background, any gender, if you do these things, you'll have an abundance of money. You do these things, you're gonna have too much month at the end of the money. You're gonna have financial stress, right? Body. Everyone's biochemically different, but you and I both know there's fundamental rules, laws. There's a science to the body. You violate that science, you're gonna have disease, you're gonna have low energy. You align with that, you're gonna have an abundance of energy. It's gonna affect everything in your life. It's a science. Fulfillment's not like that. Fulfillment is as different as our human beings. You wanna know what God or the universe likes? Look at the jungle, look at the forest.
Right.
It's diverse, right? So most people think, well, I want to get that because they've been modeling somebody else, and that might work on how to achieve something. It'll never work for what will fulfill you. How many people you know, like you, got what you thought you wanted and you weren't fulfilled?
Right.
And that, I always tell people, success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. The ultimate failure. Because if you go at something and you fail and you're an achiever, you don't fail. You go, I learned something, I'll just try something else. Right. I'm going to still get there. But when you succeed and you're not happy, you're technically screwed. Right. It's just like, what are you going to do? So the decisions we make control us much more than the conditions we meet. It's not the conditions, it's your decisions. Decisions of what to believe, decisions what to do, decisions what to give. I say to people, think about the most important decision you can make above any on the face of the earth is deciding that no matter what happens in your life, no matter what happens, you're going to live in a beautiful state. And what the hell does that mean? It means that you're not going to suffer. It means a beautiful state is that you're going to be happy, but that's only one. Or you're going to feel creative, or you're going to be passionate, or you're going to be in awe of something, or you're going to feel love. any state that's a beautiful state is really the core essence of who you are without fear, right? People that have everything, by your point of view, most people's point of view, they have the fame and they have the love and millions of people love them and they have great economics, financial freedom, and they have homes and they have the fashion, they have everything, they're the shit. I can't tell you how many of them are miserable. The majority are miserable. I'm not bullshitting. I'm the one who gets the phone call from the vast majority. When I say miserable, they're so used to it, some of them don't even realize they're miserable, but most do. They get in a place where it's like, how do I keep this up? How do I keep outdoing myself? How do I, I built these 32 companies, how to keep all 32 going and make them all grow every single year. And that's not how life is, right? And then they worry about what will people think, what will they do? So the decision to say, I am not gonna suffer, that if suffering arises, pain's one thing, suffering's another. And the way you suffer is you focus on yourself. Suffering comes when we obsess about ourselves, what we're getting or not getting, what we should have done, what others should have done for us. It's the me game. Suffering could be worry, it could be anger, it could be frustration. It's anything that takes you out of a beautiful state. And here's what people don't get. You can end suffering by stop focusing on yourself and focus on something you want to serve greater than yourself. Your children, your wife, your mission, your life. You can get out of it in an instant because the nature of the human mind is to constantly compare things. Your mind, your brain is a 2 million year old device, and it is not designed to make you happy. It's designed to make you survive. And that's why it's always looking for what's wrong. But it used to be what's wrong, a saber-toothed tiger, so I can protect myself. Now people are worried about what people think about them, or do they have enough money when 2/3 of the planet lives on $2 a day, and you're making $38,000, you're rich. The poorest of the poor in our country are considered rich. I'm not saying they should stay that way. But you can only build on success. And so my view is, if you're watching, if you're listening to this, my goal would have you consider something. Life is short. We don't know how short it's gonna be. But if you only had a week to live, I bet you wouldn't allow yourself to suffer over a little crap that makes you crazy normally. I think you would probably spend time with those you love, you would do what you love, you'd take awe in a sunset, you'd smell the air, you would take in everything in those final moments that you possibly do. So my thing is, why wait? Why wait? Why not just decide that if I start to suffer, I know the solution, because suffering is me obsessing about me. You might say, it's not me, I'm worried about my kids because they're not doing well. No, you're worried that you haven't done enough for your kids. It's about you still, right? You're worried about what was done or what you should have done or what shouldn't have done. And you can end that in an instant by becoming aware of it and saying, I have made the most important decision of all. I'm gonna live in a beautiful state. Because here's what's gonna happen. Anybody watching, you may lose a family member, you probably will. Somebody may get cancer. Your business the government might change the rules. They might change things radically that you can't even do anything about it. You might go bankrupt. You might get divorced. I'm not saying anybody will, but no one knows what's gonna really happen in your life. Life's full of uncertainty, but here's what you can know. You can decide that no matter what happens, you could have a great time. If somebody like Viktor Frankl can be locked up in Auschwitz and come out of that and experience finding joy in the middle of Auschwitz, then human beings have a capacity they've undersold themselves on. We think that the outside world determines how we feel. If people have to behave a certain way, if your husband or your wife or your kids or your coworkers or whoever, your boss, has to behave a certain way for you to be happy, and if they don't, you're unhappy, then you're always gonna be unhappy, because the more people around you, the more they're gonna change that, because they're all human, right? And if you have to be a certain way to be happy, you're gonna violate it too. So my invitation is, as great as it is to achieve, more important to enjoy. And if you can enjoy every moment in that state, when you're feeling loving and playful and passionate and curious and awe, you treat other people 100 times better than when you're feeling frustrated, pissed off, overwhelmed, worried, stressed, or feeling sorry for yourself. You're gonna be a better parent, you're gonna be a better lover, you're gonna be a better business person, you're gonna have a better life. So my soliloquy is, decide. Decide today and actually say, what if I cut it off? What if I said, I'm not willing to settle and I'm just gonna live in a beautiful state? Doesn't mean you won't feel bad, it doesn't mean you won't stay there. You instantly change. That's doable.